Welcome back. Trump Media and Technology Group CEO Devin Nunes says Truth Social is being targeted by bad actors, and the regulators in Wall Street are doing nothing, apparently, to stop the manipulation of Truth Social's DJT stock. Nunes is calling on Congress now to investigate the potential manipulation of Truth Social's share price through what is called naked short selling. That is, the illegal practice of selling short shares that are not owned by the seller. When Truth Social debuted on the market in late March, its stock soared to a high of $80 a share. Trump's net worth, by the way, more than doubled in a single day. No one had ever seen anything like it. By the middle of April, though, it had fallen 68% and has continued to be erratic in share price. Nunes suspects that this could be the work of sophisticated saboteurs out to tarnish Trump's brand and also to harm Truth Social. That wouldn't be surprising. The success of Truth Social's market debut enraged all of the people actually, I would like to see outraged because it was a reminder of President Trump's continued broad appeal. People trust his brand, which obviously extends to politics and to the market. That's why his enemies want to tear Truth Social stock down, and Trump Media CEO Devin Nunes is having none of it. He is on the warpath, and he joins us tonight to talk about all of that. Devin, great to have you with us on the show. This issue of manipulation of the Truth Social stock, DJT, it's outrageous. How did you first? What did you first detect that raised your both antenna and hackles?
Well, Lou, thanks a lot for having me on. And this is something that we showed up on what's called a reg show list. And to be honest, it's something that doesn't happen a lot to stocks. If it happens, it doesn't happen for multiple days on end. So we just started asking questions. And of course, we have an amazing retail shareholder base that I'm sure that you're ultimately familiar with. People that are very dedicated to what? To the free speech platform that we're building. And they're noticing anomalies. For example, they say, hey, I called my broker. They said there's no shares to short. If they have to short, they're going to pay a high interest rate. So where are all the shorts coming from? And then when you end up on this reg show list for, I don't know what it is now, 20 days in a row, somebody has to, and it's my job and my duty to make sure that I ask the right questions. So what are those questions? We reached out to the NASDAQ last week. We had another call with them this week. They're continuing to be very helpful and helping us to understand what could be going on. And then in addition to that, yesterday we notified the Congress, and we're asking the Congress to at least begin to ask the questions as to what could be going on in the stock. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it is something. And when you see irregularities in the market, just like when you see irregularities anywhere else, we have a duty to investigate. And as you know, Lou, I enjoy investigations. So I'd rather be building our business every day. But if our retail shareholders are going to be attacked, or if they feel like they're being attacked, we are going to investigate to ensure that nothing is happening that's inappropriate in the market.
Typically, naked short selling will come to the attention of regulators, both the exchange and the exchange and the SEC will be wise to it fairly quickly. The fact that and would you explain the red sheet and why that's important to your investors?
Yeah, well, the question really is whether or not there's, some people call it naked short selling. It also could be counterfeit shares. And the market makers, there's very few of them. There's a few big ones that are out there, and then there's many smaller ones. But these are the ones that are handling the bulk of the activity. And I understand there's an exemption, and they need to make sure that they can balance and because everything's not one for one. There has to be some de minimis amount of fluctuation so that indeed people can make sure that there's liquidity in the marketplace. In this situation, I think it's much different because we have such a dedicated shareholder base, retail shareholders. We're not spending time running to New York City or Boston or whining and dining with all of the big investment banks and the big institutions. because we have retail shareholders, and we know this because they've been before when we were just a private company. A lot of these investors came into the financing company that we were trying to merge with. That process was, I think, a record in history to get done. You covered it for a long time. They stuck with that financing mechanism so that they could merge with us. And we know, because they extended so many times, we had to go out in order to get their votes. We know, who many of them are. And from what we can tell, it seems like most of them have not sold. So then that kind of brings into question, well, if there aren't very many shares available, why is the stock fluctuating so wildly? Why are there so many shorts? And if that's the case, is there some unusual counterfeit shares that are being produced that are causing us to be on this list where orders are not being filled on the shorts? That's really what it comes down to. And we're going to try to get to the bottom of it. And we've notified Congress, and I think the challenge over time, Lou, has been this: that over the years, when people do get busted for basically producing counterfeit shares, it's a slap on the wrist. They make hundreds of millions of dollars on trades, maybe even billions of dollars on trades, and it goes through mountains of legal costs if somebody's going to try to bring a case like this. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of money to you and I, but they may get a couple $1 million fine or a $10 million fine. Well, that could be 3 or 4 years in the rear view. What I've said to Congress, and what we're looking at is, look, if this is really happening and people aren't afraid of this, there's some other laws on the books called RICO. And if people are conspiring to commit RICO to do this, then it's a much different crime. And so all we want to make sure, and all of these big companies have my information. They know how to contact me. Many of them know me personally, or they know friends of mine that know me personally. They can just pick up the phone and call, and they can issue statements that say, wow, we don't like this either. We want to make sure that this doesn't happen. Why don't they just do that? It seems like a very simple solution for all of these big investment banks and market makers. Hey, pick up the phone and call me. Make some statements that actually make sense, that say, hey, we understand you're on the reg show list. Why don't we go ahead and look into this to make sure there aren't counterfeit shares out there? That would give such stability to the market. It's what our retail investors are asking for, and it's what we're going to try to deliver to them, is transparency and accountability if anybody's doing something wrong.
Yeah, in fact, it's the responsibility of the NASDAQ to do so as the exchange. This is there any reticence, any hesitation on its part to investigate this thoroughly?
Well, to be fair, the NASDAQ has been on top of this. They encourage transparency.
Good.
The regulators are actually the ones ultimately, who have to look into this. So, we've made the NASDAQ aware. We've made the Congress aware. And so the regulators, I'm sure, are aware of this. In fact, we know this. Many of our retail shareholders have notified the SEC and FINRA themselves. We know that because they send us copies of the letters that they're sending to them. So this is something that look, we just want to build our company. We have a very valuable company. We have one of the most iconic brands in 100 years with Donald Trump. It's the only platform that he posts to regularly with, that he's doing most of the time himself, as I'm sure I saw some earlier Truth Social posts that you had on your screen. And then we're building this really impressive streaming platform to give people homes that don't have homes, which are many people that are producing great news content. It's religious content. It's family-friendly content. So we're trying to take the best of, say, a Fubo, a Sling, Xfinity, Netflix, and put it into one for content that is canceled. And this is a really important feature that we're building out. It's a whole new business line. And I want to be focused on that. That's what I want to be focused on. But if there's going to be games and there's going to be potential manipulation, I have a responsibility to make sure that we root any of that out.
Yeah, the stock remains volatile, and these shareholders, the retail shareholders that you're talking about, as any CEO would, you want to assure that they are your first concern. And
Right.
I compliment you for making certain that they are primary and you're putting their issues and their interests before the SEC, because this is for too many firms on occasion on Wall Street. There's this idea that shorts provide great liquidity and therefore are essential to the market. I will tell you that,
Mhm.
in my judgment, that's pure baloney. What's really essential is a secure market, and we are greatly blessed to have secure markets in this country. But we are also, it's very important that our shareholders know that the game is four square and straight up. And when the shorts start playing like this, with naked shorting, uh, it's time for everybody to get up on the balls of their feet and get this straightened out. And I applaud you, certainly, Devin, for doing so. And I thank you for being with us here today. You get the last word.
Well, look, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, all we want to do is make sure that there's transparency in the marketplace. And to be fair, as a guy who used to trade commodities back in the day when I put my old agricultural hat on and I was doing a lot of hedging, and I understand, how that market worked. And, a lot of times, you'd want to hedge to protect prices from going the wrong way on you. Say that, you had to buy feed or you had to sell cotton, that sort of thing. And that's a system that works. But what's different with the stock market is that you have the potential for there to be counterfeit shares. We know that's happened in the past, and we want to make sure that that's not happening now. And I think that's the thing that hopefully Congress can take a look at this. Maybe there's nothing wrong. I hope there's nothing wrong. And if there's nothing wrong, why doesn't just everybody come to the table and recognize, hey, nobody wants to see this type of volatility. And I would say this: I have people all the time that tell me that retail shareholders saying that oh, I bought the stock, right? You see it all over Truth Social. I never have any retail shareholders telling me, oh, I shorted the stock. Now maybe they wouldn't want to go put that on Truth Social, but my bet is that it's not retail shareholders that are shorting the stock. It's actually hedge funds that are shorting the stock, and it's market makers who are facilitating that to happen and need to make sure that if they're shorting the stock, to make sure there's actually a stock that's actually available to be loaned out. Because when you go out and try to short the stock, if you're a retail investor, you go to try to short the stock. I think the last time I looked, you're going to pay 350% interest. Now, what type of retail shareholder is going to go short the stock for that type of interest? My guess is not very many. I could be wrong. So that leads me to believe that there are hedge funds involved in this that are potentially doing things that shouldn't be done. Maybe not.
My guess is if you're talking about looking to the retail investor in DJT for shorting, I'd say that you're looking in all the wrong places, as the song goes. Devin, I think it's the big boys, and some of them are in Chicago, as you well know. And by the way, for a man who's traded commodities, you've obviously got credentials on a spine of steel. So that's all to the good as well. Devin, great to have you with us as always. Thanks so much, and continued great success with DJT and Truth Social.
Thank you, Lou.
In other news, former Attorney General Bill Barr